It is my job to, again, to speak about, provide a little bit of data to frame the conversation within the framework of what is happening with the climate and what is the nexus between climate and carbon. And to do that, I'll allow myself to use a few slides because there are some interesting maps that need to be seen. Well, first of all, the main message that I want to say today is that we all know that as per the IPCC Fourth Assessment Report in 2007, that the evidence of global warming and climate change is unequivocal, and that we are reaching dangerous levels and possibly tipping points with possible catastrophic consequences. Before I continue, I want to say that I'm not a doomsayer or a party spoiler. I try to bring, again, the data that is available within the framework of the carbon conversations. So there are major expected impacts that will happen with climate change, food and water insecurity, and will become a major issue in some parts of the world, not all. And there'll be shifting of cropping zones, reduced runoff, water availability, and the onset possibly of desertification in lower latitudes. This involves a problem of mass migration to the north and possibly all kinds of conflicts that may bring, where the agricultural zones are going to be more blessed with the abundance of rainfall. So in addition to that, we're brewing the perfect storm in the sense that global population has reached, in 2011, 7 billion and counting. And this seems to be a geometric progression. More than 50% of the population now lives in cities and expect to be fed and catered for with water and all services. There's a deep crisis of the global economic system. As Suresh mentioned, we have reached peak oil, and we are reaching peak soil, meaning that the capacity to regenerate and rehabilitate soils is being outstripped by the degradation and desertification processes. So in that, we have some spikes in food production, but alternate with that would be spikes in food prices too. So one of the fundamental questions I would throw to my colleagues, better able to answer this, is that why my position as member of one of the panels in the Climate Change Secretariat, the UN Climate Change Secretariat, has given me the opportunity to see from inside some of the scenarios that are pictured that are not come out, don't make it to the public for public consumption, but they are not probably for a reason, because they are very daunting. And so one of the things that I keep asking myself, what do we not respond according to the magnitude of the threat? So I leave this as a question for social psychologists to be able to tell us something about why do we seem to be involved in this ostrich-like syndrome. So I don't want us to be all negative, but crisis represents also an opportunity, and for that we can leverage creativity. There is a potential for synergistic mitigation. Before we talk about climate change mitigation, I think it's later in the day for mitigation. We need to go into adaptation. The current trajectories of global warming were committed to 2 degrees, and possibly towards the end of the century to 4 degrees, which is catastrophic. Last time the Earth was in 4 degrees was Holocene, several million years ago, and the sea level was about 6 or 7 meters of what it is today. I've been given 1 minute. Next, please. So my conclusions, I think business as usual is no longer an option. The pursuit of profits at the expense of the environment, rampant capitalism is no longer a possible paradigm to pursue. Not on physical, not environmental, and not on ethical grounds. I think there is a need for change and for need for viewing ourselves in our interactions with nature in a totally different form, which we haven't seen before. If we don't do that, Why is that? Because we have 7 billion humans aspiring and pursuing the same high standards of living and comforts, such as we enjoy here in industrial nations. So it's impossible. We have reached the Earth's carrying capacity, and we are outstripping that Earth's carrying capacity. So the model of development and value systems that will need to change, or else we'll face catastrophic events and consequences. So we need to begin immediately mitigation actions in parallel with adaptation actions in order to. I just want you to show you one of the scenarios. Just continue, next please. So this is what I was saying. We're committed, we're committed already to 2 degrees, and in the business as usual, which is the green graph, we are likely to reach 4 degrees at the end of the century. Next. Yeah, so oscillations, the mean continues to grow just as much as the interannual oscillations. Next. Just as an example, 500 million in 2010, global emissions rose 5.9%. This is 500 million extra tons of carbon in the atmosphere, and most of them come from the combustion of coal. But the emissions are expected to return to something closer to 3% yearly growth. This is a lot of carbon. If you consider that 500 million extra tons are 4.9, so half of that, 250 million extra tons of carbon per year, we will be putting in the atmosphere. I would like to leave you with this map that shows the scenarios and shows the A1B is the business as usual, and this is what we're looking for in by the end of the century. You can see the northern part of the planet with temperatures between 6.5 degrees. Greenland will become green, and probably the deserts will become more desert, and our agricultural area and our way of producing biomass, as Suresh mentioned, will probably shift northwards. So there's some, I want to call attention, my intervention is essentially to call attention to, these are the stark facts. But there is a crisis of, there is opportunity in this. We can begin research, for instance, in getting, using carbon for, and nitrogen and other elements to get food, to produce food, synthesize food, and sequester carbon in biomass. Biomass is absolutely important, and it's something that we could tackle.